we have an ultra-active week full of planetary transits. In this week's astrology, Cancer season begins. Also, Mercury and Venus will shift into the sign of the Crab, revving up the urge for emotional stability. There will be a full moon in Capricorn that will allow us to see how far we've come since January, about gaining more structure in our lives. The Sun, Mercury, and Venus will all be in quincunx alignments throughout this week, so it'll show us where we lack self-awareness in our lives. And it just happens to be a busy week for Mercury over these next 7 days, showing us where we need to work on our communication style. With a busy week like this, the vibes on the graph are reflective of the variety that we have going on transit-wise. Because the beginning of the week is so mixed bag with some of these configurations, the 17th is a mix of emotional sensitivity, romance, psychic vibes, mental, along with imagination and confusion. So at the beginning of this week, we could feel like we're more sensitive than typical to other people's emotions, causing us to have stronger intuition when it comes to others, maybe when it comes down to ourselves. However, with some of that imagination and confusion, we may have moments where we're feeling as though others are overwhelming us with their vibes, or we might have moments where our judgment is poorer than typical. So that particular time in the week, we could feel sharp one moment and then foggy the next. On top of that, solitude is going to ebb and flow through this week, and it's going to start on the 18th, peak again on the 20th, and then the 21st, and be around minimally. And these needing time to yourself tones will be mixed with mental energy and psychic vibes, leading to a lack of groundedness and needing space to yourself. Once we get to the 21st through 23rd, there's a smidge of good luck energy, despite the harshness of the week. The good thing is we'll take advantage of opportunities, especially when some of this Neptunian stuff clears up, although this Neptunian stuff is going to be with us with the Sun, Mercury, and Venus squaring Neptune, and not in that particular order. As a matter of fact, kind of in the reverse order. These planets are going to square Neptune, so they'll be with us through most of the week. And either way, though, we still have this good luck energy. So despite it being a harsh week, we'll have some fortunate moments that we can capitalize on. So yeah, we have yet another wacky week. Let's look at these next bunch of days and see what we can expect. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. Also, if you're looking for a natal chart reading or intuitive coaching, the links will be in the description box below. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. The link will be in the description box below as well. 72 hours before Cancer season begins, we'll get a double dose of this energy through Mercury and Venus. Venus and Mercury are going into Cancer, and in that particular order. Venus will go first, and then Mercury will follow minutes after. But before these celestial bodies enter the sign of the Crab, they're going to make a conjunction with one another, which should bring in some harmony to the air, which will absolutely be needed considering some of the transits that we have going on with Mercury and Venus throughout this week. So this Mercury-Venus conjunction is going to promote flirtation, charm, and engaging conversations, and also help us think creatively. It helps us solve problems from different perspectives, which might help mitigate some of the Neptunian stuff going on. And speaking of which, right before Venus shifts into Cancer, it's going to make a square with Neptune, and this could make us aware of some of the things that we're doing that we've been ignoring for a while. I mean, Neptune right now is in pre-shadow retrograde, so this is stuff that we're going to go over a couple of more times, especially concerning other people's intentions in love, where we might be foggy on that, blurry details when it comes down to romance and money, or where we might be sweeping things under the rug, where we might be in denial about something when it comes down to our love lives. Then on that same day, Venus will be the first of 2 planets to shift into Cancer. So with Venus transiting into Cancer, it's going to enunciate the urge to take our personal lives more seriously. More so our one-on-one relationships, but of course romance as well, because we are dealing with Venus. So now that we're approaching Cancer season and Venus is here and Mercury will soon follow, and then of course 72 hours later the Sun will follow, we'll really shift the tone about how we're thinking about things, how we're dealing with our romances and our egos. Because we've gotten used to all of that cerebral Gemini energy, this is really going to feel different. Because all of these energies produce a significant urge to be in touch with our emotions, to seek emotional fulfillment, to really just get into a place where we're sharing the same sentiments with other people. And with this Venus situation, this Venus in Cancer, this is going to aid us in looking for more meaningful experiences. So whether that's our close friendships, whether that has anything to do with people in our family that we happen to be close to that just happen to be cool and awesome, or seeking out emotional satisfaction when it comes down to our romantic lives, whether we happen to be in a union or you happen to be single. So romantically, a vibe like this is going to help us think about how we could be more secure in our love lives, and why it's important to only spend time with people who offer emotional stability and offer us some sort of value. So this is a time where cheap romance need not apply if you're single, or if you're in a relationship. It's a time to work on getting more emotional closeness and intimacy with a partner. On a social level, our souls are going to feel more fulfilled by those who support us. So this is a time to connect or reconnect with those we have close-knit bonds with. That way we can feel a sense of comfort and also feel safe being vulnerable with the people that we need to pour our hearts out to. Now that we're in Cancer energy, you're going to hear this a lot coming from me. Cancer rules the past. And this could be a time where, again, certain people can come back from the past, whether it be platonic, whether it be romantic. Especially in a planet like Venus, sometimes these energies pop back up again. So there may be a revisiting of things sort of energy. If it's not through people, this may be us just enjoying things from the past. So that could be stuff like going to antique shops and other ways to score vintage items. Speaking of which, Venus is also how we splurge. It's also how we adorn ourselves. So it could be a time where we find ourselves looking at things that are from the past. Maybe we get some nostalgia about something we used to own, or clothing items that we enjoyed maybe in our teens or at some other part of life. This could really be a time to dive into those things. Finance-wise, Cancerian energy concerning how we earn money, this may be a time where we're considering how we could be more secure in that area. And also considering saving money for a rainy day, so that way we do have that sense of security if we absolutely need it. One thing to note though with Cancerian energy, it does ebb and flow. It is ruled by the moon, so it goes through phases like the moon. So we might have moments where we're having a full phase and everything feels fine, but there may be moments where we're having a waning phase and things feel depleted. And so that can happen within our unions, that can happen within our social life, that can happen within our romantic life within this energy, but it can also happen with finances. So we need to be aware of that. And that does lead me to the lower expression of this energy, because there's always a lower expression anytime a planet changes signs. And with this, we need to be very aware of setting healthy boundaries when it comes down to our loved ones, when it comes down to money, when it comes down to anything regarding our emotions. We may have to be a little bit more, or try to be more grounded and safeguard our emotions a little bit more in this energy, because having those feelings and those sentiments can sometimes lead to an outpouring on our loved ones, which could cause us to feel depleted. Because of the fluctuations in this energy, we need to be aware of our moods when it comes down to spending, when it comes down to the way we're dealing with people in our love life, people we're dealing on a close union level, because sometimes this can manifest in an unhealthy way towards those people in our lives or those situations regarding spending. So we want to make sure we're staying as balanced as possible when it comes down to our moods. Also within this energy, pent up emotions can kind of come out, and sometimes it may express unhealthily. And express unhealthily, it could express in terms of petty emotions or just pent up disappointment that comes out sideways. And speaking of which, right as Venus is entering Cancer, it's going to make a connection with Pluto that could bring to our awareness where we lack insight when it comes down to our love and finances. So this could make us more self-aware when it comes down to love and money matters. Maybe we might have been too controlling in those situations, or not standing in our personal power at all, and maybe we lack a lot of awareness about how we're behaving in those situations. And so this could give us a nudge needed to work on those things. On that same day, Mercury is leaving Gemini and also entering Cancer. But right before it does that, it's going to make a square to Neptune. And this may create moments where we need to be aware of impulse control and poor judgment. Even though we've got that Mercury-Venus conjunction and, all of that lovely stuff that comes with it, we still need to be mindful of some of the things we're doing. Maybe we might be miscommunicating with others and leaving people scratching their heads because maybe we're coming off cryptic in some sort of way, or we're receiving communication from other people that has us scratching our heads. Misinformation can run rampant under energy like this as well, so we also need to make sure that we're paying attention to details, because this can make us foggy on the details, but also we might be seeing something that looks like faulty data, and so if it seems fishy, maybe we should stay away from it. But speaking of things from under the sea, Mercury is going into Cancer, shifting the tone from a cerebral method to one that's more feelings-based. Because of this, we'll feel a significant shift in our cognitive style. So for this reason, we could feel more contemplative, we could feel more reflective. Also, with our thinking and communication style, the hyperactive tempo that we've been at over this last month becomes milder once we shift into Cancer from Gemini. And so the way we interact with others goes from this chatty style to a more compassionate one, where we take a step back and listen and hold space for people better than we might have during Gemini's transit through Mercury. Also, an energy like this has more of an introverted tenor to it. It's not that we won't be social, because socializing never stops regardless of what planet is in a sign, especially with Mercury and all the other things. But we might prefer hanging out or communicating with people who we have more meaningful connections with, rather than buzzing from person to person like a hummingbird does from flower to flower. Also, with this contemplative tone, we can sit back and listen to our bodies better. We can sit back and listen to our emotions better, allowing us to connect with our intuition more so than we probably have in a while. And for this reason, we're able to connect with our psychic side better. We're also able to connect with other people better in a more deepening sort of way, because we're able to understand the depth of emotions and for that reason have more profound discussions with others. One of the other cool things this energy can help us with is taking a step back and coming up with a strategy to improve our personal lives. So if we've been thinking and considering ways to improve our personal lives, our private lives, i.e. our relationships with our family, our relationships with friends who feel like family, or with the people who live in our home, because not everyone lives with their family. Sometimes people live with roommates, and those roommates can feel like family. So this could be a time to really connect with those people. Also, it could be about making improvements to the home. Maybe an idea has been brewing you for a while to turn your home into more of a sanctuary, so that way when you get there, you can relax and just really enjoy your digs. One of the things I mentioned earlier about Cancer ruling the past when I was talking about Venus is that certain things can resurface. And with this, maybe some old memories are resurfacing with this energy. So this might come in the form of nostalgia or certain things you might have forgotten, which could be a neutral expression, this energy. Sometimes it could be a happy, you forgot about it. Sometimes it could be some stressful stuff that pops up as well. But this might be a time to dive into the past. Maybe you're wanting to dive into your ancestry at this point in time and you're doing the research necessary to understand your family's origins. Or you're just wanting to nerd out and research through an old archive. Or, do some hanging out on the Wayback Machines. Internet Archive is where you can find everything that's ever been documented on the internet that's cool and fun and informative and has oodles of nostalgia. So this might be a time to peruse that, since our minds will be more open to things of the past. And of course, there's a lower expression to this, kind of like I was saying with the neutral expression with the past popping back up. Sometimes nostalgia is a liar, and that might be a problem that gets more ramped up than typical under this energy. Also, some past memories, when they come up, they're very uncomfortable, so it may be something that affects our moods if we are thinking about that. Sometimes within this energy, it could be dwelling on past conversations that we had or past things that didn't go right, leading to feeling emotionally dysregulated and possibly angry at another person over something. Another thing that can come up with that, speaking of which, is harboring grudges and other forms of past resentment. So we really need to be aware of that and check ourselves if possible and find some sort of healthy way to release that without it coming out sideways. And speaking of uncomfortable things coming up, Mercury's going to make a quincunx with Pluto as it's going into Cancer, and this can bring up where we lack self-awareness with our communication style, but also our thinking patterns, and sometimes with our organization skills as well. So we may get that nudge needed to work on these things around this point in time because they're wreaking havoc in our lives and not allowing us to be constructive. Once we get to the 20th, Cancer season begins. Happy birthday, Cancers, and welcome to Cancer season 2024. Also, happy summer solstice, everybody. In the northern hemisphere, summer is beginning, and in the southern, winter is beginning. And of course, since I am in the northern hemisphere, I'm going to speak on that experience more so. And so this brings us to a period as the summer begins where we have more hours of light during the nighttime. So no matter which hemisphere we're in, this is opening up a brand new season for all of us. As the cardinal points do, Cancer and Capricorn open up the solstices, while the Aries-Libra axis opens up the equinoxes. So this opens up a period where it's time to start something fresh in all of this cardinal energy. But With the sun being here, we'll get a significant boost to our ego through emotional satisfaction and a sense of secureness. Some of the ways this can show up concerning boosting our ego can be through positivity. It could be through focusing our energy on family or friends that feel like family. But overall, ensuring that we have a solid support system really boosts our confidence under energy like this. So that may be one of the main focal points in terms of gaining self-assurance in this energy. Some of the ways we can feel good about ourselves in this energy is through doing homebody things. And this is not to say because we have all this Cancerian energy that we're entering our hermit era or anything like that. However, we might get a sense of fulfillment by prioritizing things in our abode and making things comfortable, and also making a comfortable space for others that we want to invite over. Cancer season is a time to invite others over. Of course, I'm going to speak to summer fun because I'm coming from a northern hemisphere perspective, but also from a southern hemisphere perspective, I'm sure it's a time to have people over and have a nice cozy meal together. Either way, it's a time to do fun things with the people who mean a lot to us in our lives. And whether that's through barbecue or a cozy day in with others, we really do get a sense of joy for sharing these things with other people. Another feature of this energy is we may be more in tune with our own sensations more than typical. In other words, this can really bring on a sense of psychicness, which comes from the reflective nature of this energy. So it really helps us get in touch with our intuition. It really gives us the opportunity to feel our feelings and just be in touch with our emotions rather than intellectualizing everything and not feeling what we need to feel emotionally. Because we'll feel more in touch with our emotional body, especially with all of these Cancerian planets that we have now. We now have a Cancerian stellium. We have 3 planets in Cancer. So this might be a time to really consider self-care so that way you're feeling more grounded, because within this energy, and Cancer being a phasal sign, it being a sign that's ruled by the moon, it fluctuates a lot. We may need to balance our emotions as much as we possibly can because we could ebb and flow in this energy. And so this is a good excuse to do a bit of self-care, to do things that's going to help you feel grounded. Sometimes doing that could be just going to a pool or the beach or any type of body of water you have access to. Again, Cancer energy rules the past, so we get a considerable boost from nostalgia under this energy. So it may be a time to dive into something that's sentimental to us, or do fun activities like going to garage sales, because this is that time of year where they start really popping up in the northern hemisphere. And you never know, you might stumble on an old gem that you could appreciate. Of course, there's a lower vibration to this, as there is anytime a planet changes signs, and this is no different. We need to be aware of over-nurturing in an energy like this. Nurturing tends to give us a bit of confidence in this energy, a lot of confidence, not a bit of confidence. And so we need to be aware of coming off overbearing and possibly just too protective, too controlling to other people. Also, it could be vice versa, where we might feel as though we're being a little bit smothered. One of the other things with this energy is it may be something of a neutral expression, because going back and working on old things is not a horrible thing to do. It's actually really healthy for us. However, it can still be uncomfortable, and this is why it does veer into the lower expression of energy. But it could be a time of re-examining old behaviors and patterns that aren't serving us, especially when it comes down to deep-rooted stuff with family. But of course, doing those things are helpful. They're just really uncomfortable. Also, because of the past that pops up, we can have this pressure cooker sort of vibe to us, where we have things that we've bottled up ego-wise that may come to the surface and bubble over and be very uncomfortable. And also, due to the increased sensitivity in this energy, we may react poorly mood-wise to certain things. We may feel more slighted than typical, and even if it's something that's so innocuous that it's not problematic, we could end up having moments where we feel touchier than typical because of an energy like this being so ramped up. And of course, on top of that, the Sun is going to make a square with Neptune as well, and this may lead to a foggy sense of self. This may lead to feeling more lethargic than typical. This may lead to us second-guessing ourselves. So it may be a harder time than typical to exude confidence the way we'd like. And on top of that, by the time we get to the 22nd, the Sun is going to make a quincunx with Pluto, and this is going to bring up where we lack self-awareness regarding our ego. So this can bring up patterns that we may have that need to be worked on concerning a domineering personality, concerning not stepping up for ourselves, not showing up for ourselves in the sense where we're standing out. Sometimes with this, it could be a fear of standing out in the crowd. It could be a situation where we fade to the background too much because maybe our confidence is a little shaky shaky, and it's showing us where we need to work on that. Energy like this is showing us where we need to work on an overpowering personality and one where we dim our light way too much. Circling back to the 21st, and mostly over the weekend we'll be feeling this energy. Mercury's going to make a sextile with Mars, and thankfully this is our saving grace for the weekend, especially after the harsh energies that we felt over these last couple of days. This is going to give us a considerable boost when it comes down to our mental clarity, when it comes down to taking action on things, when it comes down to feeling enthusiastic again and upbeat about life. So this could be a weekend to take some action on our goals. It could be a weekend to make fun plans and do some exhilarating things. It could be a time where we're more direct than typical, but in a good way. Sometimes Mercury-Mars combinations aren't the best for being direct. Sometimes it comes out really bad, like foot and mouth disease. But this is one of those things where you can be honest and be authentic, and it's well received. People are able to receive whatever you're trying to say to them. And even though we've got this harmonious alignment going on throughout the weekend, there is still a few things that are a little dicey. I mean, considering we've got a Mercury-Uranus connection that's happening on the same day as that comes to Pluto on the 22nd, but we also have some stuff going on with Venus and Jupiter that can rev up fun and make things really interesting, but we can also find ourselves overdoing it as well. Some of this Mercury-Mars stuff combined with the Venus-Jupiter stuff is why we are seeing that good luck energy. However, you just want to be careful and make sure you're not betting on something that seems dicey or doing something that seems dicey. However, there's still fun energies. It's just that Sun quincunx Pluto situation and Mercury and Uranus in a harsh alignment, that can bring up some unexpected things and things we don't want. Also, some impaired judgment, so we just want to be aware of that. Other than that, this weekend is going to be a little mixed bag. Hopefully the Mercury, Mars, and Venus-Jupiter thing carry us through, because we deserve to let our hair down after a harsh week like that. Even with those planets ingressing into Cancer right away, they're getting some hard alignments, and so that doesn't really make for some of the most ideal circumstances, but the weekend itself has a better tone to it for the most part. Anyway, I hope you all have the best week ever. Later, and see you in the next episode.